Today on Doomed! What happens when your family members go Q? That's right, today, on this episode, however you're taking in this show, we will be discussing what happens basically when family members start sharing all sorts of QAnon conspiracy theories. How do you deal with it? Where are they getting it from? First of all, that's gonna be obviously that'll be different for everybody, but we'll find out from someone whose family members have fallen down the Q rabbit hole. Also, my guest today will be telling us all about the protests in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, where there's been more than 30 straight days of protesting. And we'll get into that right now. And in doing so, I'm going to bring my guest up on the feed here so we can all be on the stream and you can see both of us. There we go. Joining me now is Andrea Rovenski of Above It All. Andrea, how are you doing today?
Not bad, not bad.
Now, Andrea, people probably know you from Twitter, where you are Pogs for Bernie. Did I pronounce that correctly?
I hope you did.
And Cyber Demon 531 on YouTube, and I've come across your YouTube channel numerous times, actually. I have to say, you are really good at SEO.
I try my best. Thank you. I'm glad someone finally recognizes. I appreciate that.
Because oftentimes I'll be searching a topic, and your channel comes up, and before, and this may sound like I'm knocking you, but not at all, because this is to accentuate here how good you are at SEO. Your channel's not huge. It's like, and my channel's not huge either. You're just a few thousand subscribers less than mine, but it's not like you are like, obviously Andrea always comes up on YouTube. They have a huge channel. You know what I mean?
Of course. I mean, duh.
No, this is just your SEO talent getting through all these bigger channels and still showing up on the tops of some of these searches I'm doing.
Well, hell yeah.
So before we, you just came back actually from a protest, and
I got back 30 minutes ago.
There we go. And before we get into that, I want to talk to you about a different topic.
Okay.
And first of all, actually, I should say that I'm a little bit out of it because over these past couple of days, I've been frantically, I don't know if you guys know this, but everybody should know that if you use Google Photos, that for years you could upload your entire video and photo catalog to Google Photos as a backup for free. Many, many terabytes of photos and videos. That's not going to be the case June 1st. So basically, you got to upload all your shit now if you want to upload that shit for free, because on June 1st, they're going to start charging you for everything that you upload after June 1st. So I've been frantically uploading like all these old family photos and videos, and I'm exhausted.
I bet.
But now let's talk about why you're here. And that is, you have family members who are QAnon believers.
Sure thing, yep. Or at least, at the very least, some of them are adjacent. They're not maybe full on, but they've got like 80% of the symptoms.
Right. So if I would clarify that and say, and I put that in the title of this stream, when your family goes Q, because I would say that's going in that direction, even if you're not full on board. Even if you're not Marjorie Taylor Greene or Ghost Ezra over on Telegram. I don't know if you're aware of this Telegram channel that's blowing up.
I've heard of it, but I don't know that much yet.
Yeah, huge, hundreds of thousands of subscribers on Telegram, and they are a QAnon influencer who's pretty much going full-blown anti-Semitic, more so than any other QAnon influencer has. Like, we're talking full-blown, even I think even some of the people at Gab would be shocked to see the direction this Telegram is going.
That sounds pretty bad then.
Yeah. But so tell us, What do they believe? First of all, let's get there. What are some of the Q adjacent? What are some of the QAnon conspiracies that your family members believe?
Well, most of them like kind of start off like at the save our children kind of angle. And they kind of mostly believe that Democrats are like secretly trying to like, kidnap or steal children, and they're all like related to Epstein or whatever. And like that's the problem, is like a lot of that comes from like the Epstein thing, where it's like, "Oh, why is Bill Clinton connected to Epstein?" And then they just assume every single Democrat, including like Democratic voters, are like secretly pedophiles. And it's like it's very, very strange stuff. I mean, they also believe.
I always regretted my my connections to to Jeff Epstein. I mean, I don't know him.
I mean, yeah, sure, we've been photographed together several times, but that's not important right now, I promise. No, but like, I mean, they will do this like with AOC. They think like AOC is connected to Epstein. Like they think AOC, like the squad in general, like they're all like evil, and it's just like really strange. But like when it comes to a Republican can say the most outlandish thing, and they always have the, "Oh, well, they took that out of context," or this or that, or "you misunderstood." But when a Democrat says anything, even like something that they would agree with normally, it's like, "Oh, well, they're just saying this to get votes," or "Oh, whatever." It's that kind of stuff. They also, like, some of them believe that like Trump's going to come back into office. Like some of them think that it's like going to be in 2024. Some of them think it's going to be earlier. It just kind of depends on the day which one they believe more. And so like, it's a lot of like really strange stuff. And like they get most of this from Facebook, because these are kind of older people. These are not like, younger people. These are relatively older people. So, and like Facebook did start banning a lot of QAnon stuff. So they haven't really been hopping on many of the newer conspiracies, but they still like really believe in the older ones, like especially the Save Our Children stuff. That one was huge.
Right. So they're not searching out this stuff on like Parler and Gab and
Yeah, yeah,
Telegram.
they're very, but like, it's all of their friends that are like, some of them are searching it out, and then they copy and paste it to like take a screenshot and post it on Facebook. So they do still get some of that, right? But they're not the ones that are going out there and preaching the gospel. They're the ones that are being preached to, right? And there's like a different kind of way that functions.
Right. This would be a whole different conversation if your family members were QAnon influencers. We'd be
Thank God. Maybe they aren't. I just don't know yet.
Right. Can you I don't know if you want to let me know exactly how you're related to the people who are QAnon believers.
Well, I'll just say they are older than me. They're a generation older than me. I'll leave it at that point.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. I wanted to know how, so we're talking boomers.
Boomers, Gen X.
All right. So do you know where they first started going down this path? Do you know what was it? Just like, were they MAGA people? Were they Trump supporters? And then they just like, do you know?
Most of them like were like, they either voted for Trump in 2016 or didn't vote but would have, they like, people always say that, "Oh, I would have done this," right? But they either voted for Trump or would have or didn't vote or whatever. And then like really like it really kind of started with the pandemic. Is like people had nothing to do, they couldn't go outside, and then like everyone was stuck inside and they're on Facebook 16 hours a day, right? And it's like, you wake up, you go on Facebook and you watch like, Law and Order on TV, and that's your day, right? And so it kind of starts with them not really believing that COVID is real. And then like, where that rabbit hole went, right? And then like, the protests started in the summer, and that's where it just kind of kicked off, because like it went from like, the pandemic isn't real to why are people allowed to protest, but I can't go to a concert, which is like like I can understand the frustration with that. And right. So like, they always take these like little things that are like righteous, like, yes, that is, I understand, but the answer to that isn't the protesters are like secretly Democrats or like trying to destroy the world. The answer to that is like, maybe you should have worn a mask for the last, 3 months. That was the answer, right? But like, like they go with that, and they're always frustrated with like what's going on in the protests, and they, and then it just goes from there. They started like, talking about how like I remember one of like the breaking points when I realized that these people were in deep was when it was the wildfires happened. And they kept
Right.
thinking that Antifa was secretly lighting all the fires. And, they would share these screenshots of Antifas with like Molotovs, and then like, photos, like, but like you look at the origin and it's like a Photoshop of someone like from like a street in Portland put into like, a forest or something, right? But they don't know that. They can't discern that kind of stuff. And so that, like, once you start believing in that stuff, that's like clearly just like, there's really no evidence for it. It just kind of feels good to believe it because of your predisposed like kind of beliefs. Like once you get to that point, it's like a feedback loop where it's like you just get stuck believing and posting anything and everything that's even like remotely connected to it. And then like the Save Our Children thing. I remember like when Cuties came on Netflix, that was a big one. That
Oh,
was a
I
big
got
one. I know you have a hot take on that one. I think we might have the same hot take actually.
I got tons of shit from the right from that one, and it's like, damn, it's like you guys really try to grab your little child sex trafficking conspiracy theory wherever you can take it. I mean, I can assure you, I'm quite powerless. I'm not part of any cabal. That's
I wish I
just
were. I mean, I wish everything that they say about me that like they think is true, I wish was true. Like, please, for the love of God, except for the pedophile part, of course.
right, right,
But like,
right,
I want to be in a cabal. I want to be a billionaire. I want to
right,
be like, secretly controlling people. That sounds great.
right. I want to be one of the elite, of course. Who,
Hell yeah,
who,
right?
who wouldn't, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you imagine, you are a billionaire who runs a space company as a side project when you're already running the largest e-commerce website on the planet, and this is just all
They're
hypothetical.
exploring space.
This is
Yeah,
all,
that's my side gig.
this is all hypothetical, by the way. I'm not talking about anyone in particular. But imagine you have a space exploration side gig when you run the largest e-commerce company in the world, just to say, and you don't get the big government contract. So then the government goes ahead and writes a new a little section in a bill being passed that gives you $10 billion anyway. And then the next day you go ahead and use about 8 point whatever billion of that to buy like one of the largest, most famous legacy movie studios in Hollywood ever. This is just all hypothetical. I'm not talking about anything in particular, but I would love to run a space exploration company, a large e-commerce company, and own the a legacy, old school, like old Hollywood movie studio.
Don't forget about one of the largest newspapers. Like, you might as well collect them all at that point.
Right.
Right?
Oh man. I mean, I wish. I mean, that'd be the trifecta right there.
There you go.
I would probably even just get rid of one of them because it would just be too much for me to handle.
It might be, right?
But yeah, I mean, I'm not that QAnon conspiracy theorists. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, like, it really is like, especially since January 6th, like, they, like, a lot of them realize Trump isn't sustainable or whatever, but some of them double down or like, and it's like, even if they're skeptical of Trump, like, I feel like the QAnon thing has its own, like, it's its own beast at this point. Especially since the election, like, they went with the Stop the Steal thing, and then when Trump, like, left office, right, like, they kind of became their own being. And so, like, a lot of that still is very intertwined with, like, mainstream Republican talking points. Like, like, we have to understand that most of the Republicans voted, to, like, quote, stop the steal, right? So it's like, when most of the Republicans do this and someone, like, sympathizes with Republicans, right? And so, like, like I said earlier, anything that a Democrat says, just for votes. They're only doing it for votes. They'll never deliver. I mean, that part, actually, maybe not completely off. But Republicans, on the other hand, they're beautiful angels. Matt Gaetz, he's my favorite. He did nothing wrong, of course. Marjorie Taylor Greene, very stable, right? And so, like, and that's the thing is, it's just like, it's weird to me. It's weird, right? Like, because like, they have that, like, yes, the Democrats are mostly full of shit, right? Absolutely. But how do you think the Republicans are any better? Like, that's just, it's baffling to me. But it's one of those things where it's like a lot of them have always kind of been Republicans or like were Democrats but felt betrayed by Obama or Clinton or something specifically. And so, like, they just have this absurd hatred of, anything labeled D for Democrat, like anything even remotely adjacent, they've got this giant fear of. And even though the Republican Party is like, just like, wow, what is going on there, right? There's a lot going on there. Right, they still, it's just, as long as it's not a Democrat, they're fine, But then some of them will say, oh, I'm an independent, right? And so it's like, it's so strange. It's weird. It's strange.
Now, when did you find out they were into Q-related conspiracy theories? Was it from posts? Did they start asking you questions about things or bringing things up to you? Were they sending you like email chains?
Right. I mean, okay, so I, thankfully, was not on Facebook up until the protests that we're going to start talking about. So I was not on their Facebook in any capacity. I try to limit my exposure to my family members as much as possible. But I start, having other family members send me like, like a text message like, hey, did you know X is posting some weird shit on Facebook? And I'm like, that's super funny. Please send me a screenshot. And then they did. Right. And so like it goes from that point. So it's like, if we're at like a meetup or like, like some sort of thing, or it's like they come over or whatever, if like, that kind of thing, I hear about it. And then it's like, for a while, it's like I'm just going to sit there and absorb it and study this and then talk about it on my podcast. And then it gets to a point where it's like, okay, I feel like I have to intervene here. Right. And so like I first started hearing them talk about that stuff. Probably the first time was maybe at like Thanksgiving, like 2019. Where I was like, starting to feel like, because I've been knowing what QAnon was for a couple years. And so like that's where I was like first like, uh-oh, right? But let's see where this goes, right? Like, what could possibly go wrong? And then again, like when the pandemic starts, right? And then everyone's just posting, they've got nothing to do, so they're just posting on Facebook all day. And then so that's when like my family is like, hey, did you know that X is, again, posting some weirdo shit? And I'm like, oh God, right? And so, and then, Thanksgiving 2020, thankfully, did not happen. But I can only imagine.
Have you spoke to your family members about this? Has there been any?
No. I've gotten into a couple of fights with them. Most of the like family members that I've gotten into like arguments with, they don't hate me, right? Like I pretend not to hate them, right? Like so, but like it's one of those situations where it's like, you have to kind of, like, I'm in a situation where I have to deal with some of these people. And so it's like, it's better to like, get into a heated argument and then say like, I'm only, passionate about this. And I don't actually mean when I call you a dumb bitch, I'm just kidding or whatever. Right. But yeah, no, I've gotten into a bunch of arguments. I've cut off a couple of family members for this, but most of them I still kind of interact with, but like, not that much. You know what I mean? Like I've stepped back. I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Right. So do you think that Trump losing the election and then, the let me ask you this actually, now that I'm going this direction. Were they consuming the Q drops? Were they taking in what Q, the anonymous internet user who, quite frankly, is probably most likely, but not 100% sure, Ron Watkins of 8kun. But were they consuming those drops, or were they just like, just sharing whatever came across their Facebook feed from like friends?
Yeah, it was mostly like downstream. So it would be like they like there was like a point where they would like, I would say like, why are you posting Q shit or whatever, and they would go like, oh, that's not me, I don't believe in Q. And then I would like pull up my phone like a Q drop and then say like, this is literally what you shared, and it's like, and then I feel like that was a bad decision on my part, because then it made them like look, it made them like Q a little bit more. But like,
oh man,
well,
so this Q guy might not be as insane as I thought.
Exactly. So that backfired a little bit.
So do you think that they were, not to interrupt you here, but do you think they were basically taking the like, where were they getting the idea that Q was beyond them? Like, do you know where that came from? That's interesting, though, what you said, where they were like, oh, I would never listen to Q, which means they had some sort of awareness about how QAnon was viewed by the broader public, or even at the time, probably like the mainstream Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so like it's they just don't know what it is, but maybe I've heard it in a negative fashion. Like a lot of people that like, and these are a lot of people that aren't like, they don't say they're political, but they're, obviously extremely political. Right. And so it's like, they probably only heard it, maybe on like a clip somewhere, someone posted it one time. So it's like the default reaction in their brain is Q is bad or whatever. Right. But they've never really thought about it. And so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like you just keep reading like more and more stuff, and then it's like, again, like the pandemic is, some free time is a hell of a drug, right? Like that you can spend 16 hours in a rabbit hole and come out a completely different person. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's the thing. I forget what you asked. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah,
Okay.
I basically, and I think you answered it. Basically
Okay.
asked like, it seemed like they were aware that QAnon was not something that was
Yeah.
accepted by, and then so how did Trump losing? And I was gonna ask in Q no longer posting, but that's irrelevant now that I know they didn't really consume the drops straightforward. But how did Trump losing affect them, if at all? Did they fall deeper down the rabbit hole, or were they just sort of
Well,
like,
yeah, well, some of them are like, okay, Trump lost the election and him trying to pretend that he won is childish, right? If you ask them about it now, they'll talk about election integrity, right? They'll talk
right,
about this and that, right? So it's like, that's one of those things where it's like, people were saying something in the weeks after the fact, and then like, now that they're months later on and people like aren't talking about it as much, they've got a whole different opinion, right?
right,
But like, most of them are just like, again, skeptical of Trump. So they don't view him as infallible anymore, right? Because like, some of them think he did lose legitimately. Some of them think the way, like, even if he didn't lose legitimately, the like January 6th Capitol thing was so like beyond the pale for some people. But like, again, it's like the Trump Q like Republican thing. It's all like one like kind of mixed up. It's like, not to be, rude to any religious people out there, but it's like, one major, like, centralized religion and then have the different branches of it, where it's like, this is this interpretation, this is this interpretation, but they all like kind of feed back into the same thing. Or it's like, Democrats are like a cabal of people that secretly sacrifice children to like whatever, right? Like a lot of these people just genuinely believe that. And if they don't genuinely believe it, they believe enough of it so it's like indistinguishable from the fantasy, where it's like, like, oh yeah, they're secretly all powerful and they do like, maybe they won't sacrifice children to Satan, but they do like kidnap and kill, like, so it's all that adjacent kind of stuff.
right. And then what's interesting to me about what you said actually is that's even beyond just talking about family members who fell down the Q rabbit hole and are still sharing the conspiracy theories, and it's pretty, I think it's good that so much of this has fallen off of mainstream platforms. Obviously, uh, but I think it's given people the false impression that this is over, it's done. I don't see people saying, QAnon anymore, and but while sharing conspiracy theories, I don't see the hashtag, where we go one, we go all. But the problem here is it's not gone. In fact, I wrote a piece recently about how they're basically using various tactics to get around the different new policies and rules that mainstream platforms have put in place to make it harder for them. But they found workarounds, and they're not using those hashtags anymore. So you don't know that they are sharing what they're sharing, but they're sharing it. But a recent poll came out today. I don't have it in front of me. I forgot. It was from a reputable firm. A recent poll came out today that said that found that nearly a quarter, I think it was 23% of Republicans, believe in the main tenet of QAnon, which is that there is a satanic cabal of elites who are running a child trafficking ring.
Absolutely.
Global.
Yep.
This isn't going away. I mean, I think that just not seeing it in your face all the time is giving people this false impression. Trump's not on TV every day anymore, so people assume, oh, it's not gone. I think they're in a position right now where whether they realize it or not, the influencers are probably, very clearly, trying to put together some sort of comeback or strategy, but the followers may not realize they're part of it, but just by sharing this stuff they are. But we're in a lull right now where I think people should be paying attention to, because it's going to come back. Just look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert in Congress over there.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, the sheer fact that they're like locked in for like, because it doesn't look like Democrats are going to expel them, Doesn't look like anyone's going to step up and actually, utilize the 14th Amendment, Section 3, right? So we're stuck with these people indefinitely. Like, I can see Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert winning over and over and over again for 10 years. I can see that.
Right.
Why not? Right? Like, they got there in the first place. Why not, a second or third or a fourth or fifth time? Right? So we're going to be stuck with these people, I think, for a long time. And a lot of people just don't, like, they just think that, like, it's going away. There's, these people are so obviously crazy. No one will, like, but no, then that's the problem, is it's not so obvious. That's the problem with this.
Right. So let's move forward even more now. Well, first of all, I wanted to say that the crazy thing that what you said to me is that it's become more acceptable, not even more acceptable. It's become completely 100% acceptable to say the share the big lie, the idea that Trump had the election stolen from him, and the election was fraudulent, and there were all these fake ballots and everything else they believe, which is not true, which Trump continues to perpetuate even on his little website blog that he launched, and when he goes on Fox News and all the other radio programs. But like you said, like, they went from like, Trump's just being silly, whatever, to like, it was absolutely stolen from him. This is all bullshit. Like, that is.
And then some of them are like the both sides, where it's like, I don't know if the election was stolen and therefore Biden is illegitimate, right? Like, it all goes back to the conclusion that Biden shouldn't be there. Like, was it stolen? Well, we don't know. Therefore, Trump should still be president, right? It's like, what? That's not how it works.
Right. So let's move a little bit more, actually, before we wrap up the QAnon section of our discussion. How did January 6th, the storming of the Capitol, affect them? I'm assuming, obviously, being that we're here talking about this, they didn't, they enjoyed it very much, or something to that effect. But what trajectory did that send them on January 6th? What were their feelings on that?
Well, at first, they thought it was horrible, right? And that's the thing, just like the election, right? At first, they're like, oh, this and that. And then, right, once the Republicans start to normalize it, and once they start to say it wasn't a riot, it was a protest, and all that, and then of course that BLM, Antifa were secretly the ones that, all the Trump supporters are so, like, thousands of them are so stupid that they're gonna follow 10 Antifas that open the doors for them, right? So that's kind of like where they at.
I mean, to be honest,
right? But I mean, they're not, they think they're the smart ones, right? But so, like, once they have that excuse, once they have that thing that they can cling to, where they personally feel like, oh, it's okay to say that January 6th was not a was not a riot, or was not terrible, or was not trying to attack democracy, right? Because once you know that they didn't succeed, right? Like, then when it was happening, it was like, oh my God, are they going to succeed? Is it like, you don't know. And then Trump, like, won't send in the National Guard, and it's like, oh, what's going on, right? Like, this is crazy, right? But once you know that, oh, okay, we're like, January 7th rolls along, then, a week later they have their little coping mechanisms, and then they're just right back, basically, like, unchanged from beforehand. Like, it's just kind of exited their memory altogether. It's just gone at this, like, and that's 5 months ago, right? It's just gone. It's just gone. January 6th, what?
Right. It's, I mean, I sort of, like, I think it was a big deal, but I think a lot of Democrats have a sense of exaggerating just a tad. I mean, I think it was an attempted insurrection, but I wouldn't call it an insurrection. Like, I've gone out of my way, really, when I cover it, to not call them, like, insurrectionists. I mean, they were certainly rioting, and they were certainly doing all sorts of violent activities. But I mean,
my personal thing is, I think that the intent, right? Like, why did those people breach the Capitol, right? Like, I feel like they had a goal in mind. Whether or not they're good, or whether or not they thought about it. I mean, I feel like, if you break into the Capitol and your goal is to thwart democracy or whatever, I mean, like, democracy, air quotes, right? I feel like that's enough for me to just say, like, that's my personal opinion.
Right. Someone in the chat says it was a coup attempt, just a bad one. Right. Attempt.
Sure, yeah.
I think it's important to say attempt because, again, I'm not
Well,
saying.
yeah, clearly
I'm
it's
not,
not a successful coup because
I'm not saying.
Biden's president.
Right. I'm not saying it to even downplay it. I'm saying it to, like, not give them enough credit there. But
Sure, exactly.
but I think when certain people hear this and they see what went down, and obviously, people died there. But I think when they see what went down, which is, a bunch of people wearing all sorts of costumes, and some of them certainly went down in tactical gear, ready for full blown, ready with a strategy. And that, not to go off tangent here, but I think there are different types of people who went down there, and different types of people who have feelings on this, who are right wingers in terms of like where they land. Like, someone like your family members. I mean, if they went down there with the beliefs they had, and they just, it seems to me like putting them in jail for like 10 years is overkill. However, if you went down there with tactical gear, with weaponry, and you were ready with your buddies and your militia groups and you had a plan, and you were ready to do something, and you had like handcuffs on you and shit. I mean, there I think you got an issue with. You're gonna spend some time in jail. Like the QAnon shaman. I mean, I don't know how I feel about a guy like that spending so much time in prison, in the same way I would feel about anyone who clearly has some sort of mental issues spending a lot of time in prison.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to do like a whole 3-hour talk about prison abolition and how we need to focus on rehabilitation, right? Because at the end of the day, throwing these people in prison, it makes them double down, and it makes people that support them and their family double down. At the end, that's what it seems like to me, just from what I have seen, right? A lot of them have from what I have seen, show no remorse, or say they didn't know, or say that Trump led them to do this, right? And so that's if you throw them in prison and lock away the key, does that really fix the problem? Does that really deprogram these people?
Right.
Does that really deprogram the people that are in their families? Does that deprogram their friends? And I don't think that fixes the problem, but that to me, I just don't think that we need prisons in general. I think we need to rethink the prison system as a whole.
Right. No, I'm not saying there shouldn't be consequences either in some fashion to doing this. Yeah. But I mean, I think they're being painted, and I'm not saying I feel bad for them. I'm not saying that we should. This is obviously, if you want to make sure the right people are. Face the appropriate consequences, and B, if you want to be able to one day deprogram these people for the greater good of everyone, and so we're not dealing with this shit. I think you need to really separate this, and I think there is a difference between the grandma who walked in the door when a bunch of people were let in one of the openings where the cops were just like, fuck it, whatever, I'm not gonna do this. I don't think that person is the same as Proud Boy who is breaking down the windows with a stick and going through the window he just broke into, and then going directly to where the map he had looked at prior to going down there that day showed him to go, where he could find some senators or Congress people. I think those are two different people. Both should face consequences. One should face a different type of consequence.
Absolutely, I agree.
And that's, I don't know where we went on that tangent, but I feel, I'm
always down to talk about jailing Republicans. That's just me, though.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's sort of like, I look at so many of these people, and it's like, what would happen if they went down there on January 6th? For example, like I said, your family members, anyone's family members who've fallen down the QAnon rabbit hole. Those are the types that probably would have went down there because Trump said so, seen their buddies, people wearing MAGA hats, marching down to the Capitol, and then, just doing whatever they see. And,
I mean, the thing with Trump supporters is and this is the thing with fascist ideology, is they're just followers, right? They will just accept whatever the leader will say, and they'll just kind of do that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's literally in the slogan, where we go one, we go all.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I mean, the people who are saying, wake up, you're all sheeple, they're literally the ones advocating to be sheep.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
All right. So, do you think your family members will one day wake up?
I mean,
Not probably the way they think. That's QAnon talk. I'm doing a little bit of a double speak there.
yeah, I think it's possible. I think, some of them may be too far gone, right? But I think, it really does depend on the trajectory of like the rest of the world. You know what I mean? Like if we have another Republican president in 2024 or something, which, right, it's very possible. If we don't fix like the electoral college, right, like, it's very possible, right? And so like I think if that happens, I think these people are going to be sucked right back into the vortex. Right, but if you give us like another 5 years or even like 10 years possibly of not having any of these extremists have like the presidency, you know what I mean? I feel like it'll slowly drift away, but that could just be me wishful thinking. I think it's possible for some of them, but not for others. It really does depend on like how, I guess, addicted to social media they are. Like some that are maybe more casual, like, now that the pandemic's starting to get over, and some, like most of them are vaccine skeptical, but like, some of them have their vaccine, right? So it's like, like maybe they'll get off of Facebook. Maybe they'll get a life, in other words. I have hopes.
Right. I mean, I think it really. First of all, I've discussed this a lot, and obviously it's different for everyone. But I think the most important aspect is that the person who has fallen down the rabbit hole needs to want to seek the help first. It's almost impossible once they're so far down. Like, it's one thing for a friend or a family member to come and say, "Hey, did you see this? What do you think?" Or even like, "Oh, this sounds really, I think I might believe this conspiracy theory. But let's talk." This is maybe those people you could talk out of it before they fall too far down. But when you got someone who believes this shit, it is. I've often said, like, how like you try, and there's organizations out there that are dedicated to pulling people out of white supremacist organizations and white nationalist groups. Like, those people will have an easier time getting out of that shit than the people who fall down the QAnon conspiratorial shit. Like, there is no basis in reality with QAnon. Like, there's nothing. Like, the white supremacists are obviously looking at racist tropes, but these are like prejudices that exist in a sense. Like, they have some sort of, so you could like show them the real reality of the situation and maybe help them get out of it in that way. There's no way to do that when you're talking about people who believe in something that you can't even like visually or physically or audibly or in any sense of the term, in any shape or form in reality, like show them otherwise. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no, like, you can sit a white supremacist person down with a black person and they could talk with that person and realize, maybe I was, but you can't do that with someone in QAnon, because you're not gonna. Oh, this Democrat I spoke to, they just weren't part of the child pedophile cabal. You can't find someone who's in the child pedophile cabal, right? Because they don't exist. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's like, and it's not like you're gonna sit them down with George Soros, right? And then like, also, if you did do that, they wouldn't believe George. Like, so it's like there's really just it's pure, once you open your brain to fantasy world kinds of thinking. Right? Like, at that point, like, you're just, really, you're going to have, like, it has to come from the heart. It's like an addiction. Like, it really does have to come from you in order for you to change. Like, an intervention, theoretically could plant the seed, but it's probably not going to, right? And you're just making yourself feel good.
Right. So, I could probably, this is almost the whole episode. I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but I mean,
as long as the protests get coverage too.
Oh, that's what we're moving on to right now, because we got to do it, because this is, I mean, you have been, first of all, props to you. You have been covering this. Geez, what has it been? 30, how many days?
Today was 37.
37 days. So first of all, let's explain to people from the let's completely rewind. Before Blockbuster hits me with a fine. Half my audience probably has no idea what I'm talking about. Too young. But let's talk about, why are there, first of all, where's Elizabeth City? That's in North Carolina, correct?
It's in northeastern North Carolina, so we're about maybe half an hour-ish from the Virginia border.
Now,
and we're like right on the coast.
Got it. So What's going on down there? I know you called into the majority report a couple of weeks ago when I was hosting, and you laid it down for us. But for my own doomed audience who have no idea why there's protests, maybe they didn't even hear about these protests to begin with, no idea protests are even happening in Elizabeth City. What's going on?
Well, so on April 21st, a man named Andrew Brown was shot and killed by the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department. And that is, a distinct entity from the local police of Elizabeth City. Now, I dislike them both, right? But I just, And so what we know at this point was that they came on the back of a pickup truck with AR-15s to execute an arrest warrant. Now, it was they originally said it was a search warrant, but then they changed it to an arrest warrant. Turns out, according to, the warrant was acquired under faulty pretenses. I don't know, the whole story behind that, but, they said it was a search warrant. And then like a couple days later, they're like, just kidding, it's an arrest warrant or something. And so they showed up on the back of a pickup truck with like 7 officers with AR-15s, just like in their arms, ready to kill. And so Andrew was in his car. And now I want to like paint the picture here that he lives like right next to a school, right? And so like that's another thing. Now I believe it was a virtual day, right? But still 8:30 in the morning, people are going to work. Kids are maybe playing outside, right? Like it's a whole thing that.
And I'm sure the police made sure to check with the school to see if it was a virtual day, right? Yeah,
they're the most brilliant and honorable people in the world. Of course they would have had that phone call, right? So they just show up. And I think it was like within a minute or so, Andrew was shot and killed by getting shot in the back of the head. So our initial demands were to release the entire unredacted video.
But wait, before we get any further, I want to stay on this for a second. Why were there? What was the warrant for? Why were they going after him?
It's because he was a drug dealer.
Okay. And that's, has that been, not that it matters, obviously, but was that something that was something that was known by them before? Like,
yeah, I mean, from most people like that, knew him, knew that he dabbled in that. Like he had, to my understanding, had been arrested for drug-related things in the past, and that kind of stuff. And I just, for my own personal sake, I want to make it clear, I don't view nonviolent drug offenses as crimes. I don't view them whatsoever as crimes. But like that's the war on drugs plays a heavy role in why Andrew Brown was murdered. I think.
Right. Thank you. That's basically what I want. I'm not one of those people who was like, I want to know all about what this guy's background. I wanted to know basically why they were going after him, so we can put it in the proper context.
It's also important to note that when they did, after they killed him, of course, when they did search his car and his home, they found no drugs. They found no guns, no weapons, nothing of any kind. So that is an important thing to note.
Now I don't want to. I can't recall this part of it. And I want to just make sure because this might show the state of things where I'm getting one police killing of an unarmed black man confused with another. But was this the case where he had his kids with him?
That was what was initially reported. I don't think that was actually the case, though.
Okay.
I think his kids were in the house, something like that. But at the time when this happened, they didn't release any details, and so we were just going off of what we had heard. And so I don't think that there was a kid in the car, but now, I'm not entirely sure.
Now, did they know he was going to be in, did they plan it to go there when he was leaving into his car, or were they going to go to his house?
I think they just showed up and he just happened to be in the car at the time.
Right. Okay. So
that's what it's like.
So I actually do think in that case, the kids being there is quite relevant. I mean, it seems like a pretty bad fucking plan to do that with children present, period.
It's also very important to note that when the police killed Andrew Brown, that they shot into a neighbor's house, and the bullet went through the house, went through several objects, including a clock, and was only stopped by a crock pot. And it's important to also note that it went through a chair that someone's wife happens to sit in a majority of the day, right? So it's it just so happens by the grace of God that they weren't home at that particular time, right? And so and I want to draw the comparison between this and the case with Breonna Taylor. Like, remember that Breonna Taylor's killers were not charged with killing Breonna Taylor, but one of them was charged with like wanton endangerment for shooting into a neighboring apartment.
Right.
Right. So in this case, they're just covering that up completely. The only reason we know about that is because the neighbor's talking about it, right? To my understanding, I don't think the sheriff has mentioned it at all, or if he has, he's downplayed. I don't think the district attorney has mentioned it at all. Like, it's just like they're trying to pretend like that doesn't exist, right? And so this is one of those situations where it's like every single power structure is either corrupt to the core or useless, right? So we have like the mayor, who's useless, right? She is she's basically made almost no statements on this whatsoever. She came to one march for 20 minutes as a photo op and hasn't showed up since, right? Every time people see her, she's got police escorts, right? She's useless. And we have most of city council, which is also like, again, and I'm not like, there are some city council members that I've spoken to a lot and that are really nice people, but in effect, when it comes to power, they're useless, right? Because like almost every decision that they could make is, turned by the fact that every other system is filled with corrupt officials. The police department, corrupt. The sheriff's department, corrupt. The counties, everything related to the county, corrupt, right? Like every single aspect is just like either corrupt or useless. And so we're seeing how like from the get-go, right? Like I knew that this is not a case like, Minneapolis where Derek Chauvin's going to, where the killers are going to get actually, sent to prison. That's not going to happen here. And as we know now, the district attorney, Andrew Womble, has already said that the shooting was justified. And so there are going to be no charges against any of the officers at all.
The shooting was justified. You just
wait till you get this one. So they released 40 seconds-ish of footage, right, that showed a cop reaching out and touching the hood of the car, right, as the car is driving about 2 miles per hour. And that is like what they take that as is, oh, police made contact with the vehicle, right? Doesn't matter, the police touched the car, the police in the vehicle made contact, doesn't matter who touched who. And that means like threat is imminent. And so any of them can shoot and kill Andrew, right? And so like, now, if you want to make the argument, right, that the police officer who touched the car shoots Andrew, I completely disagree. I think you're crazy. But that's like an argument that is distinct from the fact that other sheriffs actually, like sheriff deputies, also shot at Andrew. And the kill shot was one of them that was in like behind the car, who shot through the windshield or behind the back seat and shot him in through the back of the head. And so he died with his hands on the steering wheel as the car was like drifting into and hit a tree. And so like it's important to know that the kill shot was completely like, I'm not even like, if you even try to make an argument for that, I'm not even going to listen to you. If you make the argument for the initial contact and why they shot, I'll try to talk you out of that because you're wrong. Right. But anyone making the argument for the other people, y'all are just crazy.
And they tried to claim at first that he crashed, right? Like was that the case where they tried to claim at first before more information came out that he crashed the car into the tree and that's what happened?
So that's why that they shot, or they're like, purposefully distorting the timeline of events. So they'll say like he crashed into a tree, sheriff deputies opened fire. Right. But like, you don't know the chronological order. You don't know they just throw whatever fact or whatever like they think is close enough to a fact. Right. They just throw it out there. And then that's what the people believe. Right. And so like, and again, we live in North Carolina, right? Like half of Elizabeth City, half of North, like, pretty fucking racist, right? Like there's a lot of people here that are not like well in the head, right?
Well, I'm actually not that familiar with Elizabeth City. Can you tell us a little? I think you're doing that now, but go a little bit more into it.
Oh, well, I mean, we live in a city where it's like almost like I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's about 50-50 Trump Biden, right? And that like tells a whole story where it's like, you've got, and it's also like another city where it's like, majority black, right? Like, but it's like, somewhere like just hovering around 55 to 60%. Right. So it's like, you've got this situation where you have like all the white people in Elizabeth City. Well, obviously not all the white people, but like the majority of the white people, right, are just completely in their own bubble. Right. They live in like the whiter neighborhoods. Right. They, get their news from these Facebook groups that are filled with most of the wine moms and the Karens. Right. They have like a couple of their city council people, right, that are like, that those are their authorities that they can look up to. And it's like, and so they live in this alternate world, right? So it's like when the district attorney says something, right, they hear that. But when any of, like, say, the black city council members say anything, or if they hear the protesters, that's immediately, like, they just don't view that as credible information, right? And so it's a situation where it's like they are like they're in like this fantasy world where they think that like every black person is a rioter and they're like one step away from like killing you or something, right? And so again, I want to be very clear that we have had 37 straight days of nonviolent and peaceful protests, right? So like, remember throughout all of 2020, what everyone was saying, why don't you just be peaceful? Why don't you just be peaceful? Just be peaceful. Why do you have to do this? Why just be peaceful, right? So those same people that spent all of 2020, right now, right, when it's happening in their city, doesn't matter if it's peaceful. Doesn't matter if it's nonviolent. They're still all thugs and they're still all criminals, right? And like, and that just goes to show you that like, it really, at the end of the day, if a right-wing Republican or if like one of these people is saying something or it's like a request, right? That request doesn't mean anything. They demanded that we all be peaceful, and here we are, 37 days. That's like historic. Can you think of any other like city like in recent time that has had 37 days of straight protesting, not a single thrown like fucking anything, not a single broken window, not a single like anything whatsoever, right? Like, we have been attacked by the police. We have been attacked by right-wing racists. We have been attacked by like, just like random pedestrians, that yell at us or whatever. Like, we have everything in the world thrown at us and no one has been violent, right? And so that just like, it paints a weird story where it's like, what can you do that would impress or would be approved by like these right-wing Republicans? It doesn't really seem like anything is possible.
Right. Now, what has been the reaction? I know you already gave us some details, but go a little bit more into what the reaction has been from the community and the local leaders, basically, to these 37 days of protests.
Do you mean like governmentally or just like within the protesting, or?
For the community, just what they're seeing with the protests, and then for the government, for the local leaders, obviously, let's go into if they're responding in any way that will bring about some sort of material change or result.
Well, see, that's where I like material change, right? Like I said, most of the people in the city council are all in government positions, in my estimation, are either corrupt or useless. And that's not to say that they're bad people. That's just to say that they do not have the political connections. They do not have like whatever they need to actually affect material change, right? So like, and they can be great people. They can just not know how to do things, right? And that's like, but at the end of the day, they're useless, right?
Right.
And so like, I don't think that we're going to get much material change. I really don't. I don't think anything good is going to come out of the case. And maybe that's just because I'm a pessimist, right? But I try not to be, right? But I just don't see any of the officers getting charged. I don't see there being like, I don't see the city council or like the county, like, whatever. I don't see the state, anything. I don't see them providing any material differences, passing new drug laws. I don't see any of that happening at any point. And so like, the community is reacting to the protests. Again, all the people that like were spending all of 2020 saying, why don't you just be peaceful? Now it's, I have to take a 3-minute detour to get to work. Y'all are rioters or something, right? And so like, and the leaders are like, some of the city council are marching with us every once in a while. The mayor, I said before, just came out for a photo op one time, right? But like, the people that are marching with us from the city council, like on a personal level, they're really cool. Like, I've been loving talking to them. They've been bringing us supplies, right? They've been helping us out, and that's great, right? They've been giving us water and stuff. So, I mean, if you want to count that as material change or like, helping, that's great. They've been providing mutual aid for the protests. But as far as any like long-term effects governmentally, I mean, I think that what we need to focus on right now is community organizing. Because if we do like make this protest and like community movement into like, if we do start like, again, like I have a lot of people that I have met over these past 37 days. I had no idea they existed, right? And so now we're pretty good friends. And as long as we can continue to boost the community and to have the community support one another, and I think that's like the short-term goal, I think should be to focus on the community. Because let's say if you can get 400 people, like in a town of a population with like 20,000-ish, if you can get like 500 people, let's say, that are like willing to go out to a protest, right, every single day. And that's something we have to build up to, right? That's like, we started with a couple hundred people. We probably peaked at maybe 1,000-ish, right? But now we're at like maybe 100 people a day, right? But if we can get to that point where we can get like 500, maybe 1,000 people that are willing, maybe not to do something every day, but if we have a plan once a week, right, then that's where you can start affecting material change. That's where you can start acting as like a voting bloc. That's where you can start doing this and that and being like maybe a campaign apparatus, and maybe then, right? But I don't think with the current governmental structure that we have right now and the current people in power and the current distribution of power, I don't think we're going to see anything.
Right. I mean, that's, I guess, sort of the case in every city when there's a protest due to police brutality of some sort. We rarely see any, but it's obviously important that people still stand up, and it's been great to see and hear that Elizabeth City's been doing this for as long as they have. So you just came back from a protest just like 30 minutes before we did the show.
I'm
like you
still
mentioned.
sweaty.
Perfect. So you're in the mode. Can you take us there? I want you to tell us what a day in Elizabeth City marching with the protesters is like. So what did you do today? What you got there around what time, and what'd you guys do?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that on my podcast, I've been doing a daily recap. So of all 37 days, I've documented each one, and I've done a video recap the next morning of each one. So if you are interested in just seeing more detail, you can just like go watch you can watch day 12, then watch like day 34, right? So like, well, don't watch day 34. That's when we almost got hit by a car. Well, I almost got hit by a car. But anyway, so
I'm going to ask you about that right after you go through this.
Yeah. But yeah, the average day right now is we meet around 5-ish, and we march for about 2, sometimes 3 hours. We kind of change the route like on a daily basis. Sometimes we march down the main roads of commerce and block things and that kind of stuff.
How many people are we talking about?
For like day to day now, obviously, like especially on the weekend, there's gonna be more people. But day to day, I would say the lowest turnout that we have had since the protest started was maybe about 20 people, and that was like a moment where it's like I thought that they were gonna die down, and then we had enough people, and we just decided we can't let this die down, and I feel like that was like a resuscitation moment. Right now, like for the last week or so, I say the minimum that we've had maybe is around 50 to 60, right? And so like we have like a decent, and again, when you count like the size, like this isn't a city. This isn't like, it's called Elizabeth City, but it's not like we're not millions of people here. We got like 20,000 people that live here, right? So it's like when you really think about it, 50 is a significant chunk, and it's enough to shut some stuff down every once in a while. But yeah, so we sometimes we'll go through neighborhoods and talk to people. We love the chant, get out of your house and get into the streets. And then some people do come out of their house and get into the street, and they say what are y'all doing today? What are y'all doing tomorrow? And we try to recruit more people. Some days we march down, again, we have because this is such a small town, we've got 2 main roads where everything is on, right? So you've got one road where all the chain fast food stores are, all that stuff. You got the grocery stores, and if you just shut it down, boom, you shut it down. No one can go get their Mickey D's, no one can get their Wendy's, and that's where they just go on Facebook and say, oh, I have to wait 40 minutes for my order, right? And it's and
that was some super realistic cinema sound, Foley artist typing right there.
Thank you. I have long fingernails.
You could easily get a Foley gig on some sort of film. That was fantastic.
I'll try my best. Maybe I'll put out the feeler. So, but, I mean, the protests have been pretty good. I mean, some days we'll do a little bit more direct action. We're gonna purposefully stir things up. Some days we just kind of make our presence known, and we'll organize and talk after the protests, and then come up with strategies for oh, we're going to do this on next Thursday, we're going to do this on Monday, we're going to do, so we at least try to make our presence known on a daily basis, right? So whether or not we do some hardcore, let's occupy, we've got, for example, a bridge that neighbors another county, and the only way around that bridge is a 30-minute detour, right? So sometimes we'll just occupy that bridge, and then people can't go home unless they take like, an extra 45 minutes or so to go around. And then that brings in my favorite thing, the sunken cost fallacy, where you have those people on the other side of the bridge. They got to move at any point. If I turn around now, they're going to move. And so they'll sit there for hours and hours and hours. So sometimes we'll occupy the bridge. Sometimes we'll just like march around, like all around town and like, make our presence known. But really, like, we're just trying to have a minimum of people know that we're out here every day. As long as people know that we've been out here for another day, then that's a win. And then like, we'll have these days like, sometimes on the weekend where we plan these big rallies, these big turnouts, that kind of stuff.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that you were almost hit by a car. And right. I think, like, obviously these protests have been going on for a while, and the news media loses their attention span for things all the time. And I think this sort of was starting to fall a little bit out of the news. And then I saw that someone was arrested for driving their car through the protests. So first of all, tell me about that news story. What happened there? And then tell me about your own experience with how people are using vehicles to attack the protesters, which is not a new tactic. This was something we really saw ramp up last summer in the wake of the police killing of George Floyd. People were using cars to really, that's super illegal, by the way. There's actually, like, I'm sure many of you know that, but there are actually specific laws against using your vehicle as a weapon. Not many other items have their own specific law about using them solely as a weapon, like specifically. So it's, it's pretty bad when that's going on.
Right. Well, I want to let's rewind a week before the car attack. Now, I also want to provide some context. We have been requested by the police, and I just wanted to say I fully disagree with this, but I'm not gonna, make my disagreement overrule everyone else. But we have been asked by the police to file permits ahead of time for the protests, right? So that they know where we are going and so that they can, quote, protect us. And so I'm going to name some police officers specifically here. About a week ago, about a week before the car attack, Lieutenant Daryl Felton came to the protest before we started, asked where we were going to march, and then we had a situation where someone drove like close to the crowd but didn't hit anyone, and so someone asked them about that, and then so they were like, please just let us know the routes, double check so that we can protect you. And then Lieutenant Daryl Felton said specifically, I don't want to see anything like Charlottesville happen, right? And so oops, right? So fast forward about ish amount of days, right? It's another day in the protest. Now, I want to say that mainstream media shows up. Sometimes they show up in full force. You got all the works, and then sometimes almost nobody shows up. Sometimes I'm like the only person with a camera sometimes, right? And so like that's like a situation where it's like you never know what day you're going to have CNN or ABC out, and what day is just going to be like, like grandma with her Facebook Live and me with my cell phone and my Twitter account and that kind of stuff, right? And so like on I think it was day 34, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but I think so. We had, no real media presence outside of course, the grandmas on Facebook. And no disrespect to the grandmas on Facebook. I love all of y'all. And the non-grandmas on Facebook, of course, too. And then, I'm out there with my camera. And so we're marching down the main road. It's called Airing House. And that's the main road where all like the fast food places are on. Right. And now, again, we've had the cops out here before the protests ask us where we're going to be so that they can, quote, protect us. And as Lieutenant Daryl Felton said, I don't want to see anything like Charlottesville happening, right? So we had a situation, and I want to be very, very clear here, because some media outlets have reported on the car attack and have ignored this whole aspect to the story, right? Because they'll just report the police report, and they'll just talk about this, and they'll just talk about that. But I want to be very, very clear, right? So the police are supposed to block the side streets. That is their job. Right now, again, we have filed a permit. So it's not like we are, quote, blocking traffic illegally. We are legally, lawfully allowed to occupy these streets. And the police, their job in this context is to block the side streets so that no one can enter the main road, right?
Right.
Now, again, me personally, I think the permits are showing too much compliance. That's not my thing. But hey, we got the permits. It works in our favor in this instance, right? So again, and I want to be very clear here. We have an officer, and I know who this is because I got their everything. Their name is Parr, Officer Parr, Parr. They were blocking a side street. And so they were interacting with this angry racist, right? That was being blocked by their vehicle, right? So they were blocked, right? They could not get into the street. And so I could remember vividly, and everyone else, some people have this on video, but like the person was clearly angry in the car. They were like screaming, right? People said that they were screaming about, the N-words and all that kind of stuff. Right. I also want to say that this person lives in Greenville, so that's a while away from Elizabeth City. I don't know why they were here. Maybe they have friends here. Maybe maybe they just drove out of their way. Right.
Right.
And so they're angry. They're talking to this police officer, and then all of a sudden the police officer drives away and leaves an opening for the protesters and this car. And then so the person in the car starts screaming out of the window, calling people N-words, calling them idiots, right? And then so protesters say who do you think you are? What do you whatever, it's an interaction, right? And then just out of nowhere, the car starts people are right in front of the car to as a way of saying don't move. And then they just jolt the car forward, knock some people down. 2 people were hit initially as the car started driving. And again, I want to be very clear that the Officer Parr, let that situation happen, right? If they had stayed there they were supposed to, we pay their paycheck to, that's their role in society, is to block that motherfucking street, right? If they were to have stayed there, that whole thing wouldn't have happened. So it only happened because the police got out of the way. Now, a witness who was right next to the car, heard the person in the car say, if the police weren't here, none of you would be safe. Right. So it's okay, they say that, and we know the police drove out of the way and let them do it. Right. But again, the police have covered that up. Right. And again, I'm one of the only people that is trying to talk about this. And because I have a podcast and because I'm not just a random grandma on Facebook, I'm trying to get the word out. Yes, the cop let this happen. Right. The local police are just trying to cover that up. Mainstream media outlets are just reading the police reports and just writing the police reports. Right. And they're trying their hardest to pretend oh, it was just an angry racist and it's just right wingers versus left wingers. No. The police let the situation occur. They let the chaos occur. And again, it's not like we're illegally blocking traffic. Right. Even today, Andy has been retweeting a lot of my footage and been trying to bombard me. And that's been something I've had to deal with today.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
I know, I'm hitting it big. And so I have had so many neo-Nazis today say, why are you blocking the roads? It's illegal to play in the street. And it's first of all, 37 days of nonviolent protests. Isn't that what you asked for? Second of all, we have a permit. It is literally lawful to be in the street, and it is literally unlawful to drive in the street.
Also,
right? And so
people always have the right of way. That's
absolutely.
That's just a matter of fact. If someone's crossing the street, and just take the protest away. If someone's crossing the street and you're at a red light and your light turns green, and that person is still in front of your vehicle crossing the street,
you can't just rev up and hit them.
You can't just run them over. That's actually against the law, because people have the right of way. Right.
It's not like the car was driving down the street and we dove in front of the car and tried to get hit on purpose. The car was at a full stop behind a police car. The police car moved, and then the car from a full stop revved really hard into people, knocked them over. Some of them had to go to the hospital, and then started to drive through the street and then hit another protester. And then again, the officer that drove out of the way at this point was out of the car and just kind of watched them do it and just kind of stood there.
Right.
I
should add an addendum here, because Nixon Plumber in the Twitch chat says not in every state, Matt, which is true now. I don't believe this has always been the case, but
yeah, I think Florida and maybe another couple of states have passed some bizarre
where
anti-riot.
You can run people over. Yes, it's amazing. I highly doubt those will. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know, but they seem like they're not going to last. I don't know how you can possibly give a car the authority to just run someone over. But I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, so again, so the cop who let them go in the first place just watches them zoom off. And so I get in this cop's face and I tell him to do his fucking job. And so like the cop's response to me was, I'm trying to do my job. We have to protect them from you. And it's like, what does that mean? You have to protect the person who just ran 3 people over from me? Right? What? Right? But the cops are going to pretend like that never happened. Right? And so, you know, every single day that I have seen any police officer, I ask them, hey, is Officer Parr facing any disciplinary action for letting someone hit us? And I have actually had the deputy police chief of Elizabeth City Police laugh in my face for me asking that question. They laughed in my face when I asked that question, and they didn't even bother responding, right? And so, like, they're just trying to cover up the fact that the cops had anything to do with it at all. And then I also want to add this amendment onto this, right? The district attorney said that the shooting of Andrew Brown was justified because he was, quote, using his car as a deadly weapon because cops touched the vehicle as he was moving at 2 miles per hour, right? Okay, so you can shoot him 40 fucking times and kill him with a shot to the back of the head. That's fine. But someone a white woman, by the way, her Facebook profile picture was her with a Confederate flag, right? So a white woman driving through a crowd, hitting 3 people, not theoretically having someone else touch the car, right? But hitting 3 people, surrounded, an ocean of police doing nothing. Why didn't they all start shooting at her? Why is she still alive? Why was she able to have a $40,000 bond paid off instantly and only be in jail for an hour and a half? Andrew Brown wasn't only in jail for an hour and a half. He was killed, right? And so this, like, specifically just shows that every step of the process is bullshit, right? The shooting of Andrew Brown was not justified, right? The cops are not here to protect us. Every aspect of like, is just bullshit.
Right.
And then again, you've got the press who, like, I've spoken to some of the press. They've interviewed me because I have some of the video of the car, right? They've interviewed me, and I try to tell them specifically that Officer Parr let this happen, and that the Deputy Chief James Evans just laughs off the idea of answering that question, and not, like, almost none of them have printed that. Some of them have printed, like, you know, reports say allegedly a cop moved out of the way or whatever, right? But it's like none of them have. They just parrot the police reports.
You know, I think it needs to be, I mean, I'm sure people who are watching this or listening to this show are not the audience for this, but it needs to be stated over and over again. Media, stop reporting what the police tell you as facts. They are simply the same type of recollection of events or an opinion that you would get from any other witness. In fact, it's even less reputable because they have an agenda.
I would go further and say the police, right? It is not an option on the table for them to lie. It is an obligation. Right. It is in the job description for them to lie about everything at all times. Right. I mean, like, just look at George Floyd's first incident report. I mean, my Lord, right? They did not expect that video of the murder to be released, and you can tell. And they just made everything up as much as possible. And then, oops, right, the video went viral. But when it comes to Andrew Brown, there is no cell phone video that went viral. They control the tape. They control what parts of the tape they get to release. They control what, like, you know, frames they get to cut out. They control, like, what body camera angles they get to use, right? They control every aspect, right? And again, we have a local paper called the Daily Advance, right? You know, to them, that, like, on the first couple of days kept calling us an angry mob, right? Again, 37 days, no violence whatsoever. An angry mob, right? The Daily Advance actually also is doxing protesters as well, like, just report, like, literally plain reporting their entire addresses out of protesters, right? And so that's a huge problem. The Daily Advance has also just parroted almost anything the police say about everything. So when Andrew Womble, the district attorney, said that the shooting was justified, the Daily Advance was, oh, the shooting is justified. They were reporting opinion pieces about, don't do drugs, kids. If you do drugs, you'll get shot by cops. And it's like all this just disgusting propaganda. And you've got, like, you know, like some of the local, like, you know, cable news are just like, they'll do this both sides thing. Like, well, the district attorney said this, and then protesters say that. Who knows what's true, right? Like, and so it's like, again, like almost every single aspect of the chain here is just corrupt, corrupt, corrupt. And so like that's why it's so important to have like people like, not to, be the main character here, but people like me that are able to capture these events and then able to tell you what actually happened. Right. And so that's why I feel obligated to show up every single day. As far like unless I get like hit by a car and my legs are broken. And even if that's the case, I'll still find a way to show up. I've showed up for 37 days in a row. I'm not planning on stopping. I've marched in the rain. I've marched right in the wind. I've had my hat blow off and I've had to chase it. Right. I am down. I will be marching every single day. I got my vaccine and my arm was hurting and I still march. And so like I want to be there every single day because you never know when a car is going to drive into a crowd, and you never know when that one camera that you have is going to pick up that one moment that no one else's will. And so for that reason, right, I feel like I'm obligated to go because you can't trust the media.
Absolutely. I mean, couldn't say it better myself. I got one thing here for you, actually, that someone here on Twitter asked me to bring up. This is from Chloe on Twitter. Matt, I've been begging Andrea to change her Twitter for months. Please. That's the tweet. I felt like I had an obligation to bring it up.
Okay.
I got to tell you, I didn't know what pogs were until I looked it up just now. And
right.
All right, I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, I made my Twitter account solely for the Bernie campaign, and I was not usually using Twitter at that point. And so I mean I don't know, it's just it's a little joke. People at the time were making all of their Twitters X for Bernie, right? I just came up with something I thought was funny, right? Like I could change it. I could, but then that requires re-hyperlinking every single tweet I've ever made. I don't really feel like doing that. So that's my position.
Andrea Rovenski, I said it right the first time, and then I messed it up the second.
Messed it up. Can you believe it?
Of Above It All, where can people find you? Feel free to name drop, promote anything and everything. Pretend this is YouTube SEO right now, and you got to fit
all right,
it all in.
So first of all, my beautiful and amazing, highly intelligent podcast, hosted by the most amazing and brilliant protester who's ever lived, is called Above It All. The reason it's called Above It All is because obviously I'm better than everyone else, and I'm literally above it all. Like I am above the discourse. I'm like every single thing that's ever occurred, I have the right take on, no exceptions. Like I'm like clearly, I mean, just look at me, right? I'm very talented.
It's been true from my experience with what I've heard from you so far. So I mean, I can't.
That's the official endorsement, folks. But yeah, I mean, I do a podcast every single day at 10 a.m., 7 days a week. Every single day, that's where you can find me on YouTube. My YouTube account is Cyber1531. I've considered changing it to my full name, because I made it like, when I was 14, but maybe I'll change it. Maybe that's a whole, maybe one of these days I'll get a book deal and I'll take myself seriously, but I don't really take myself seriously at this point. Right. But maybe I will in the future. And so and also I just want to say, right, my favorite video game in the world is Doom, right? So when you invited me to be on Doomed, I thought you were going to discuss my Doom 2 speedrun world record. Here I find out.
Wait,
your show has nothing to do with Doom.
Do you really have the speed?
I used to. I don't anymore. Don't bring that part.
But did you really? Like it's
yeah, I had it for a couple years.
If I looked up like the record books, you would be there?
Yes. I would be there for a couple years.
Wow. I feel like I'm talking to like a video game celebrity.
You should be. You should feel like that, and everyone else should feel like that as well. But I am a former video game celebrity, professional speedrunner, turned protester and live reporter. Maybe I guess I'm a journalist now.
Are you gonna try to win the speedrun record back, or have you hung up the boots?
Here's the thing. If I try again and fail, that looks bad, right? So I've got options here. I can try in secret, not tell anyone, and then when I get the record, I just go like, check this out, right? Or I could just not try at all and just say I used to be, or I could just say I was, or I can just make vague references to it, and that's just as good as far as I'm concerned, right?
So what was the record, by the way? How long did it take you to?
Well, I had the record for 100% in 1 hour and 29 minutes.
The whole game?
Yeah, the whole game, 100% everything.
I don't think I could even get past the first I don't even know if it was levels or rounds. I don't know how I don't remember. I don't think I could do that in an hour. I mean, yeah, jeez. Thank you so much, Andrea. This has been great. I've been wanting to get more, more leftists or independent journalists or any
I'm
sort of,
both now.
yeah, any sort of YouTuber or podcaster in this realm on this show. I've promised I was going to do it. And I'm going to do more. And I think this is good because I think people, from what I'm seeing in the chat, people in your audience is here for the first time, and people in my audience, I see them saying, "Oh, I didn't even know about Andrea. I'm subscribing now," and
I'm alive. I exist, folks. Here I am.
that's the point. We gotta all collab and take down the man, the right. Got to take them all down. All right, Andrea. Look forward to having you on again soon. And
And just saying, you're welcome on my show whenever.
Oh, just let me know when you want me on, and
I want you on
I'll
tomorrow.
be that. Hey, if you want, text, message me on Twitter, and we'll see what we can do.
Maybe.
Hey, you don't want me on tomorrow. I can tell.
No, now I'm gonna call your bluff now. Now it has to happen. It's out there. It's live, folks. I'll have people sending me emails if I don't have you on.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
All right. You have a good one.
Peace.
All right. Just hang up. What do I do here?
I got you.
Okay.
I'll hang up on you.
Please ban me.
Bye. All right, folks, that was a lot of fun. Obviously interesting and serious topics, but as always on this show, try to get guests that deliver it to you in a way that's both educational and entertaining. Because if you're not interested in it, if we're not being interesting to you, then you're not gonna consume and take in and learn. Folks, drop a YouTube super chat, and I will get to your comments and questions. There's a bunch of super chats. I'll read a few of them right now. Peter Low Frequency with a super chat when we were talking about the protesters, the anti-protesters using their cars to hurt people. Peter Low Frequency says these people would have run over MLK. Abby with a $10 super chat says the same reason Kyle Rittenhouse can murder multiple people and be out on bail, and Michael Reinald can kill one Patriot Pair member and be executed by police. Extrajudicial killing, ACAB. And Straight Edge implies the existence of Queer Edge. That's a good username, by the way. With a super chat, I am Poggers for Pogs for Bernie. Oh, I should have read that one when Andrea was here. My bad. Well, anyway, youtube.com/MattBinder. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Drop a super chat if you'd like to give a one-off donation. I am actually working with folks right now, and I want to check with them to let them know to if I can name drop them, because I have someone who's helping me who doesn't want to be name dropped, has let me know that, so I can't thank them publicly by name, but I can thank them by thanking them for doing their work. But I gotta check with the others who are helping me with various things, including those special members only emojis that I need so I could roll out the YouTube memberships, if you would rather do a YouTube membership than a Patreon membership. But for now, if you'd like to financially support this show, more than just a one-off donation on a YouTube super chat, and this is where it really helps, when you subscribe to this show on Patreon. Patreon.com/MattBinder. We are still stuck in that little, you know how I told you guys that sometimes we hit a number and we just get caught in that number. I'll gain a few new patrons, but then I'll lose a few patrons, and we'll just get caught on this number. It's happened. I think it's happened at least once a year. We get caught on a random number. It's happening right now. So if you could subscribe at patreon.com/MattBinder, help this show grow. I want to shout out the people who've joined the Patreon, and have become patrons since the last episode last week. And those good people, those good patrons are Mojo Mine 1, Raymond A, John G, and Leah B. Thank you guys so much for being patrons. I can't thank you enough. Your patronage helps keep this show going and growing. And while I'm at it, I am going to shout out some random patron subscribers, not necessarily newbies, not necessarily anything for any reason. These aren't, I'll be doing this every week just to thank everybody. 500 internal, thank you for being a Patreon subscriber. Abigail T, Anna, Anya B, Bo D, Brian S. Let's keep going down this list. Colorbox, D Garcia, Daniel S. Let's keep it going. Let's see a few others. Daniel C. I don't know if people want me to read their full names. Maybe I should if they want me to. I can never tell. Inez. Greg V. Imseti. JLS. I'll just read three more random, just out of the blue, no particular reason. Nicola E. Nikki K. And last but not least of the rando patron thank yous, Stina G. Thank you guys so much for being patron subscribers. Could not do this without you. Once again, become a patron today. I will shout you out, and I'll continue this rando shout out every week too. So if you're a longtime patron subscriber, you'll hear your name too. And there'll be bonuses coming soon. I am working with people. It's actually in the works. Things like stickers, fun stuff like that. Yeah, it'll be a hoot when when they drop, and that'll be for the patrons. Folks, you can also support this show by going to ratethispodcast.com/doomed. I can really use, when you go there, all you gotta do is leave some reviews. There's links to where you can leave reviews on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser and some other platforms. Please, if you can, especially on Apple Podcasts, leave a review, five star if you want, but I'm not going to make you give me a good review, but leave a star review of your choosing. And please, if you can, a little write-up review as well. Big help when you do that. Takes just like a second, really. It's really quick. If you could do that, I would be very grateful. You could also support the show. Oh, if you're more of a podcast person than a video or a live stream person, go to doomedcast.com and subscribe to the podcast there. Podcast is usually up a day or two after the live stream. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Matt Binder. Just search, or if I'm not on, I'm Matt Binder pretty much everywhere. I think there's one or two places I'm not. Just search Matt Binder. You'll find me. Folks, we're going to go to the second half of the show. If you're a patron subscriber, you can stick around. If you are watching via the live stream, even if you are not a patron subscriber, you can stick around. Everybody else, au revoir, arrivederci. See you all next week on Doomed. We're back. Umar in the chat says, how much you paying to give you a good review? Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Abby says, review 5-star cause Matt said so. Please do not write that. Please don't put that. Please don't do that. Oh, Collins. I forgot to do the Collins. Let me log into the old, and I hope I get, there's been some people who wanted to call in because of my cryptocurrency take. I really bothered the crypto people lately. The cryptocurrency advocates with my crypto take. Let's go here. Open up Skype and go to look. Type in the search "Doomed Live." It'll come up. You can call into the show. I will take calls. Give me a second here to log into the system. I can't remember the Skype password for the call-in number. Here we go. Okay, I'm now logged in. I will take some calls. I got some stories to get to. Cyber Demon. That's that's Andrea. I'd love to talk about crypto, by the way, another time. Yes, I didn't know. You could have stuck around then. My bad. Orb Rumor says, thanks for letting me freeload, Matt. Oh, no problem. No problem. I would love to give it all to freebies for free, and I actually really, for the most part, try to. I got to give patrons some benefits, and patrons, there'll be more benefits coming to you on the way. But yeah, I wish I could, I would like to do even more, to be honest. More stuff, more content. And I think we're getting there. I think we're definitely getting there. Let's go. I'll read some super chats, and then we'll get to some stories. Let me give people a second to call in if they want to. Renee with a super chat. Isn't Boo Boo Bennett basically an overgrown child beauty pageant contestant? Are you talking about Gun Girl, Kent State Gun Girl, Caitlyn Bennett? Samantha Sider with a super chat. Seeing uncle tomorrow who refuses to take vaccine. Try to convince him. Renee says, super chat, feed him Beyond Burger and tell him that it's meat. Who are you talking about? Shit. Sorry, Renee. It's out of context. Renee, do me a favor and yourself a favor, too, because these are super chats. Try to add a little bit of context to them. Excuse me. Especially if they're super chats, because I'm going to read them. And you're paying for it, too. So might as well get the context in so when I get to them and read it, makes sense for your sake. Counting Amberjacks with a super chat. 2 of my faves together. Thanks, Matt and Andrea. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Andrea, you were great. You'll definitely be back on this show. And I'd love to be on your show like you had invited me, even though you seem to have backtracked a bit on it. Renee with the super chat. Hashtag co-host material, Matapacos. Yeah, when I'm gonna be doing more content sooner than later, and when I do, I'm gonna need my my regulars, and I think Andrea has secured a spot as someone as a good go-to to have discussions with. Of course, that is if Andrea wants to come back. Andrea says, I think crypto is fine and people get too mad at it instead of systemic problems. Well, no, see, I think crypto is fine too, as if you take it for what it is, as a get rich quick scheme, as a hustle, like Elon Musk said on SNL, as a very risky, extremely risky investment. As playing the lottery. I don't think it's a problem if you have that in mind and you understand that that's what it is at this point. The people who think that they are changing the world with this right now, I'm sorry. Out of your fucking mind. Before the cause with a super chat says, crypto seems to be designed to scam middle-class dudes who want to pretend to be Elon Musk, or is it just me? Absolutely. I mean, I was going to talk a little bit about this, so let's get to this. And I'm going to bring up your super chat in there before the cause. So I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but meme stocks are back, baby. GameStop, AMC, what else? Sundial, Naked Brands, all these stocks that became Reddit faves earlier this year, caused all sorts of news headlines. It was all over the place. The meme stocks with GameStop shooting up from like single digits to worth hundreds of dollars in a matter of like just a couple of days and weeks. Well, there's another rally now. And GameStop is back up. AMC is at new heights. AMC, I think, hit like $30 today, which is a new like year high or something like that. And the play here is that these investors, these retail investors, the Joe and Jill schmoes on Reddit, who are just basically trying to rally these stocks, are doing it because they're apparently the hedge funds are betting against these stocks. Still, beyond me why they would still be doing this after what happened earlier this year. Maybe they thought it was like a one-shot deal. Like the odds of it happening again, same as getting struck by lightning. But here we are just a few months later, and it's happening again. They're trying to short the stock, and it looks like there's going to be a squeeze. And these stocks are going to go up even higher, possibly. I think that if these guys, and I'm all for the little guy winning. I see it. You could see it. Tons of people who have invested for just a few stocks, all they could afford, and they're making maybe $100, maybe $200, maybe not even that much. Maybe they're doubling their money if they bought a couple of stocks, and they're now they're up 50. Good for them. I mean, cool. I'd rather see the little guy win than the hedge funds, no doubt about it. And you know what? If the squeeze hurts these hedge funds and they lose billions of dollars, that's great too. I'm all for that. But the problem I think here is that, just like with cryptocurrency, there's no sort of greater cause here. Like, if you are the little guy, if you're like a middle class person who had some extra money, invested it, and you're winning here, and you're up money, and maybe you're even up enough money that it'd be life-changing for you, that's great. But that's all it is, though. It's an investment. You struck the lotto. You know what I mean? The idea that this is some sort of movement that's bucking the system and causing pain to the hedge funds, sure, maybe temporarily, but I feel like it's all a distraction to the fact that, these aren't the things. Like, playing their game isn't going to be what defeats them, what causes them the maximum pain, what takes down the system that you guys are trying to buck. Because you're still investing in stocks. You're still taking part in the stock market. Same with crypto. Like, you're still investing in crypto that's making some very rich people even richer. So I feel like, again, take it for what it is. I'm not anti it. If you're in it to make some money and you're making some money, cool. Go at it. I'm not going to tell you can't make money. But I mean, that is what it is. There's no greater good here. Those hedge funds that lose some money now, for the most part, they'll be fine when this is all over. There'll be some bailout. There'll be some sort of tax write-off. There'll be some way where they're fine. And you guys are just like, and I feel like you guys shouldn't just be involved in this. You should also use this movement. I mean, that's a pretty big deal that you guys have been able to get these retail investors, these average Joe and Jill schmoes, like I said, on Reddit, to throw down some money to make these stocks rally. Now, you should also use that to make some sort of institutional change, make some sort of policy change, advocate for something more so. I mean, the idea that you can short stocks to me is just fucking ludicrous. The idea that it's legal for these billionaires to bet against the company is ridiculous. And you know what? I mean, another thing I've been hearing from the crypto people is that, your description of the of cryptocurrency in my rant from last week, it's the same as the stock market. Well, yeah, I'm no advocate for the stock market. I don't know why you're comparing it as if like I'm pro stock market. I mean, I think the system is built to obviously make the rich richer, give the chance to be richer, and have those dreams come true to a few, very few lucky non-rich people. But for the most part, because by doing that, they take advantage of the vast majority of people who are in lower and middle classes, who have those dreams and aspirations, who hope that those few lucky people are them, and they end up losing the most. I mean, the hedge funds lose billions. They'll be fine. You invest your savings, which could be just a few $1,000 in a stock that tanks or in a cryptocurrency that disappears the next day. You got nothing, and there goes your savings. You don't got, like, they got billions to lose. You might not have a couple thousands to lose. Yes, people will say it's their responsibility. It's their, well, yeah, of course. The buck stops with them, but here you guys are pressuring them and advocating for them to be successful, or, you know, or it's on them. So they do it and then they fail, and you're like, oh, sucks for you. Jackson with a perfect super chat right now. I really hate how the stock bros act like everyone deserves to be poor if they don't become some savvy investor. Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like the idea that, sure, it's your responsibility if you take your money and throw it in the stock market or throw it in some highly volatile investment like upcoming crypto, an upcoming coin or token, and it fails and you lose money. Sure, that's on you, but like the whole atmosphere, that whole club is all about, if you don't do this, it's on you. Like, it's your fault you're poor. It's your fault you're fucking up by not making these investments. And then you make the investments and you fail, and they go, well, shouldn't have made the fucking investments. I mean, there's no winning, you know? So yeah, that's my take. I wanted to bring it up because A, the meme stocks are back on the rise, and then B, all I heard from the crypto people this past week is, it just sounds just like the stock market to me, man. But I don't see you speaking out against that. Yeah, you know me, Mr. Stock Market Investor, Mr. Wall Street, Matt Binder, right? I mean, come on. Another thing I see a lot from them is do the research. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to crypto. Do the research. And then I ask them, spell it out for me. And they can't. They tell me, where am I getting this wrong, guys? Tell me where I'm getting this wrong. And they can't. They just say, do the research. You're wrong. Do the research. Which is exactly what, like, the fucking QAnon cult says. Do the research. I did the research. And I found, listen, you're not fucking doing some sort of scientific method here. You're not diving into the textbooks and the history books. You're not diving into the mathematical equations. You fucking did a Google search. Do the research. I've done Google searches. Like the idea that listen, like I said before, on my phone right now, I got the stock apps because in order to talk about this stuff, in order to get the experience and to understand this stuff, I'm not investing because I got tons of money to make it. But I put some money down so I could have skin in the game, so I could talk about this stuff to the best of my abilities. I got a little in stocks, these meme stocks, to keep track of them. When I mean a little, I mean a little. I got my Trust Wallet on here. I got my MetaMask app on here. I got my Coinbase account, my KuCoin account. I got the crypto.com app on here, but I should delete that because I'm in New York and you can't use that in New York. New York's got some pretty strict laws about cryptocurrency. But yeah, I mean, I think I know what I'm talking about. Am I talking like a crypto advocate where I'm like obsessed with this shit? Of course not. But I'm not coming out in on this without any background whatsoever. Steve Matthews says, "Hey Binder, are you reading the chat?" There you go. Of course I'm reading the chat. Let's go to some super chats. What do we got? Where are we with the super chats? So yeah, I think I brought up before the cause of super chat too, where crypto seems to be designed to scam middle-class dudes who wanted to pretend to be Elon Musk, or is it just me? It's definitely part of that. I mean, There's a lot of people online right now who have made their entire online identity basically around, who've built this online identity around being like crypto millionaires, people who have made a ton of money via crypto. And of course those people exist. I mean, there are people who've made a lot from this. But I have a Binance account. Dank Uger. That too. I had to buy some BNB coin the other day so I can swap it for some meme coins, because they make it so easy to buy these meme coins, right? Where you gotta buy the more popular coins like Tether or BNB on or Bitcoin even on one of the main crypto exchanges, and then you send it to your wallet, like your MetaMask wallet or your Trust wallet, and then you have to then get on Uniswap or PancakeSwap to then swap it for one of the meme coins. It's a wonderfully easy process here that is clearly going to make the normal folks get totally super into crypto. And that's how this is going to take over the US dollar and be the future of finance and currency. It's super easy to do. It's a pain in the ass. What was I saying? So yeah, I mean, but who's to say that these people are telling the fucking truth? Like, anyone could Photoshop their fucking Coinbase account or their fucking crypto wallet and fucking say, look, I'm a crypto millionaire. Listen to what I got to say. Follow me on Twitter. I'm going to give away $10,000 in Shiba Inu. I'm going to give away 50 grand in fucking, I got to tell you guys, I came across the most ridiculous meme coin today. Cosby Coin. Literally, let me pull this shit up. Unbelievable. Unreal, truly, like the fucking stupidest shit you could possibly. Fucking Cosby Coin. Like, you gotta be shitting me here. I mean, let's pull this up on the feed. Like, come on. This is the latest meme coin I came across. Fucking Cosby Coin. So it's literally a Bill Cosby themed shitcoin / meme coin. I don't know if they've got any idea what Bill Cosby's been up to over the past few years. Maybe these guys have been in a coma. But not only is this not financial advice, and the pre-sale sold out, I am begging you not to put money in Cosby Coin. Please do not. If you're gonna fuck around with a meme coin, there's better ones than this stupid shit. There's also, Jesus Christ, a fucking N-word pass token. Do you believe this shit? This is another meme coin I came across. It's literally called N-word pass. Can you imagine this shit? It's real, by the way. Oh, and by the way, you can track meme coins at the aptly named poocoin.app website. Yeah. Frankly, some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen. But they're meme coins. They're not to be taken seriously to begin with, but still. The Cosby Coin one I just can't get over. Unbelievable. Cosby Coin. Let's go back to the chats because I got to see some reactions to Cosby Coin, actually. So he says, what year is this? What grandpa made this? Mr. Saxokeet says, LOL. Steve Matthews says, I think Cosby's in a Canadian prison currently. Tank Uger says, I bet Destiny is heavily invested in N-word pass. Oh, man. Um, Mr. Saxky says Cosby Coin, get the F out. Right. Dank says, LOL, the Shiba coin was the one recently where I was hearing about all the hoops you had to jump through to buy it. You have to do that for all these coins if they're not listed on a main exchange. That's the majority of them. It's a big deal for them when they get on one of the main exchanges because it makes buying them easier. But for the vast majority of them, open up your Robinhood app and you'll see what you could buy there. You could buy Ethereum Classic, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. What else can you buy? Dogecoin, obviously. I think I'm forgetting one more, but that's it. Those are the ones on Robinhood. And I know you're going all Robinhood, but that's like the main, like, you want normies to get into this shit? That's the one. The shitty thing about the Robinhood app, though, is that you can't trade your crypto there. It's strictly for investment. Again, to give you an idea about how normies see Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum and Dogecoin and crypto in general, you can't send crypto to somebody else, or you can't pay for something via crypto if you buy it through the Robinhood app. It's stuck in the app, untransferable, and it's only for you to A, hold, or B, sell. Because that's how it's viewed as to the majority of people. It's an investment. It is the equivalent of a stock. It's not viewed as a future currency, as a current currency, as anything that can ever replace fiat money. What sucks is that I had a really good guest for, obviously Andrea was great, but I had and we're gonna reschedule, but I had a really good guest scheduled for this week that was on this topic about how crypto is being manipulated by specifically one specific company that has their own cryptocurrency that they're just printing without any sort of regulation behind it, and they're just printing it and printing it and printing it. I mentioned the crypto earlier. I don't want to give too much away, but we're going to be talking about that either the next episode or the episode after that. Orb of Rumor says only buy Huxtable coin, folks. Right. Listen, you want to get into crypto, you love crypto, crypto is your hobby, you think it's great because it's an investment thing for you. I get it. I think it's bad for the environment, but listen, every money making thing is somehow bad for the environment. Obviously, crypto is a lot worse than most, but yeah, and you got your family to feed, you got to take care of, you got bills. I get that. So if that's your thing and crypto and you get it, and totally, I understand. But again, for the 100th time, stop pretending it's something it's not. Steve, if you want to ask me that question, you said you wanted a question to ask. Umar says, make Binder coin. I should make Binder coin. I should make a Binder coin. Would you guys buy a Binder coin? EC with the super chat. Opinions on MMT. Crypto would eliminate the ability to use MMT in the U.S. MMT. What are you talking about? Modern monetary. That's what you're talking about. Modern monetary theory is the main tenets that a government that issues its own fiat money, right? Right. I don't know enough about it, to be honest. You see, I would have to get an expert on here to talk about this. But I mean, when the government prints up money, the very fact that they're the ones who are doing it and ascribing a value to it gives it that inherent value. I mean, it's just the system in place, and every business accepts it. The dollar does not wildly ebb and flow up and down. It's not like you pull out $1 and one day it's worth 50 cents and another day it's worth $1,000, another day it's worth a penny. $1 will buy you whatever someone's asking for $1. Whereas, obviously, if they want to raise their prices because they feel like the dollar is less money, that still doesn't, your dollar doesn't change there. They just raise the price of the item. But with like crypto, if something is, I don't know, 1,000 Dogecoins, and Dogecoin ebbs and flows and it takes a hit, that same thing is worth more Dogecoins without even a price change on the item. I mean, you can't have a currency, a base currency that does that. I'm sorry. Samantha says you have to buy Doomed Coin to buy Binder Coin, right? Doomed Coin. Dank says Doomed Coin sounds destined to fail. Although, I will say that Doomed Coin might be meme worthy enough in its name that people would take the plunge and buy some. All right, let's hit some stories. Let's go to. I got some stories I want to hit. No callers today. It's amazing how 1 week there'll be so many callers that I gotta tell people, I gotta drop people and say I'm sorry I can't take your calls today, and then all of a sudden, fast forward to the next week and not a single person calls in. Amazing. What do I want to talk about? Here? Let's see. Oh, do I want to do this? This is fantastic. This one's really good. All right, let's do this. So, Dave Rubin has some high-level ideas he wants to share about what's going on in California with the governor recall of Gavin Newsom. He's obviously, that's where he is. I think he still lives in California. I don't think he was one of the expats who went down to Texas or something, or at least not quite yet. So Rubin is getting involved in following the recall race in California, and he starts tweeting out. Today it was, right? He's got these tweets about Caitlyn Jenner. Now, for those of you who don't know, Caitlyn Jenner of the obviously Olympic fame and also the Kardashian fame is running for governor as Republican. Donald Trump's former campaign manager is helping her with her campaign. And she seems to be the main Republican candidate right now. At least Jenner's getting all the attention. She's been on a number of mainstream shows. When I say mainstream, I mean like cable TV news shows. She's been on Fox. She's been on, I don't even know. She's been on the Hannity show. I don't even know what else she's been on, but she's been on the Hannity show. She's getting like prime time coverage here. I don't think any other candidate running in the recall against Newsom is getting the coverage Jenner's getting. But Dave Rubin, all of a sudden today, is none too pleased with Caitlyn Jenner. Let's pull up this tweet here. So Dave Rubin says, let me move over a bit. Dave Rubin says, the Caitlyn Jenner campaign is a total farce for money. and a reality show. And he's quote tweeting a Daily Caller news story. Headline is Caitlyn Jenner says trans girls who began treatment at a very young age should, of course, compete in girl sports. Now, this is Caitlyn Jenner flip-flopping. She's been all over the place on this issue. She said at first that transgender people should not be able to play sports. Obviously, you know, transgender women should not be able to play women's sports. Transgender, I don't even think they care about transgender men, to be quite honest with you, because it's not the same dynamic. They're worried about transgender people excelling. And in their estimation, transgender men competing against people who were born as a cis male, you know, they would have a harder time. They wouldn't be easy streets for them in sports competition. Whereas in their mindset, a trans woman would have an advantage, have the upper hand in competing against cis women in competitive sports. But Rubin going hardcore at Jenner here. Total farce for money and a reality show. And I was wondering why that was the case. Why is Rubin? I mean, this might be the one shot to recall Newsom. Caitlyn Jenner's the one getting all the attention. Probably raising a good amount of money. Probably has some strong moneyed connections, support there, who will donate funds to her. But then I was wondering where this came from, because it didn't make sense to me. So I went back and I looked, and I found that Dave Rubin was just recently on Newsmax earlier this month in early May to talk about the Caitlyn Jenner campaign. And Rubin had a very different outlook. He did voice some concern about the seriousness of the campaign, but it's about a 5-minute clip, which I basically cut out the relevant portions for this compilation. But I'm going to be fair and say, yes, Rubin did question the seriousness of the campaign, but Rubin also had all this to say about Caitlyn Jenner's run for governor of California just about, 2 to 3 weeks ago. Let's take a listen.
The policies that she has laid out there, and I watched the entire interview with Hannity, there was nothing that didn't make sense.
Right.
There really wasn't. You know, she's even fighting the trans lobby on this stuff, that girls, you know, that biological boys that transition to girls shouldn't be in girls' sports. The obvious feminist position and sensible position, but that's just a sidebar issue. But the things that are important to Californians, like lowering taxes and getting rid of regulation and opening up the state and helping with the homeless situation and dealing with the drug situation that is completely out of control. I mean, go to downtown LA, it is an absolute disaster, or basically go to anywhere in San Francisco, and it's absolutely awful. So she's getting the issues right. Is it a little odd that if you would have said to me 20 years ago, the best candidate for governor in California would be Bruce Jenner as a woman? Yeah, it's a little odd, but hey, here we are. And I'll be totally transparent, John. I did donate $50, and I got the Caitlyn for California mug. I should have had it with me on set right now.
That's really weird then, right? Here's a guy who donated money to Caitlyn Jenner's campaign, has the little Caitlyn for governor mug on his washer, in his dishwasher, on his in his sink, ready to be maybe that's why he didn't bring it. It's old coffee in there. But he donated money to the campaign and had all those nice things to say about Jenner's policy positions. But then back to today, the Jenner campaign is a total farce for money and a reality show. What happened in these few weeks? I mean, it could be, like I said, you know, Caitlyn Jenner flip-flopped a bit on the trans people playing sports issue. But even Rubin called that a side topic. Like that the main course that you should care about. And from what I can see, Jenner didn't change on any of those main policy planks that Rubin was heralding. So what happened? Why did Rubin flip so quick on Caitlyn Jenner? Well, for you folks looking for an answer, you don't have to look too far because Caitlyn Jenner responded to Rubin's tweet there. The one that I just showed you about it being a farce and a money-making scheme. And here it is. Caitlyn Jenner says, wrong. And Rubin responded. And in that response, it should tell you everything you need to know about Dave Rubin and how he forms his opinions. Rubin writes, we have reached out to your team repeatedly through every proper channel. The fact nobody has even responded shows incompetence, mismanagement, or a PR stunt. And we aren't the only well-known show to have that experience. Perhaps talk to your campaign manager. Well, I mean, listen, if it's a PR stunt, then obviously ignoring invitations to shows is a failure at rolling out that PR stunt. But anyway, point being here, Dave Rubin has dropped his support for Caitlyn Jenner after speaking so highly about her campaign on Newsmax and cable TV, and on his own show, I'm sure. After donating $50 to her campaign, put some skin in the game there and gave some financial support, got a Caitlyn for Governor mug, which he said he uses in exchange. All that out the window, because for Dave Rubin, the most important thing is you go on his show. And if you don't, then maybe you better be ready for him to drop all of his support for you, all the kind words he had to say about you and for your campaign. That's all. You know, the main policy plank for Dave Rubin is, will you come on my show and give me content? If you don't do that, then good luck. Dave Rubin's not going to support your political aspirations. That's hilarious. Hilarious. Fucking Dave Rubin dropping his support for Caitlyn Jenner because she hasn't responded to going on his show yet. Oh man. All right, let's go back to the chat room here. John Renee says Rubin has the high morals of Jimmy Dore. Right. That's the same thing that Dore bases his feelings on people. Will they go on my show? Right. Jason says Rubin coin. It's full of ideas. Zoe says, is he that stupid that he doesn't realize how petty that makes him look? To answer your question, yeah. Dank says his Caitlyn mug is his version of the MR Jeb mug. No, it's not. He totally bought that mug. He totally lent that support because he truly supported Caitlyn Jenner. And when he found out that she was ghosting him about going on the show, then he got pissed. Oh, we got a call. Let me take the call right now. Hello, caller. You are on the air. 1 second here. Let me pull up your video on the feed, if you don't mind. And let me pull your voice up on the chat here. And there you go. How you doing?
Hi, Matt. I just was going to comment, on the thing I said in text because, Jimmy Dore was upset. I think it was with AOC because she didn't show up or didn't go on his show or something like that.
Right. Well, if it wasn't. Oh, there's some. I could. Yeah. Could you turn the volume down on your computer because I could hear myself talk? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I don't think she ever agreed to go on the show. So the idea that he expected it is ridiculous. But I don't form any opinions on who doesn't come on my show, because if that was the case, then I'd be shit talking everybody, because a lot of people don't come on the show. But yeah, you're right. He was upset that AOC, apparently, I guess he was trying to reach out and getting ignored, or who knows the case. But he even said it on the air that he was upset that she wouldn't come on the show.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to call about, I didn't know if, maybe it was relevant enough because it kind of happened in the past, but I too have become a victim of cancel culture. And earlier today, when I was listening to the Majority Report, you were talking about Michael Tracy and I forgot what the Substack, I think it's called.
Right.
I really haven't followed it too much. I know that Glenn Greenwald and he are like locked arm in arm with in tweets and things like that, and on Substack. And Glenn Greenwald's big argument that he is not as corrupt as, or that he isn't corrupt, I think is even more accurate, as Sam Cedar is, because he doesn't take money directly from Fox or from Substack, but yet he has books that he's promoting through Substack. But how I became a victim of cancel culture is because I don't know if you saw Michael Tracy had an article about Minneapolis. So when all the riots didn't occur because of the Chauvin verdict, as it came out that he was guilty, apparently they had, at least Michael Tracy had to find another story, and that story was how bad the crime is in Minneapolis. He wrote this long article, and so it wasn't enough that he was promoting it through a tweet. One would think that's enough for someone to, if they're interested, to go and look at what he has to say. But that's not enough. He has to interject his superior journalism, because everyone that doesn't get apparently shot at is not a journalist. He sarcastically calls a brave journalist. But yet Michael Tracy can go and comment on anything that he has no knowledge of. Like he made the comment about a reporter who I believe is with I can't remember the organization, but it's the Center for Foreign Relations, and that she didn't know what she was talking about, even though about the pandemic, even though she has won the Pulitzer, won the Peabody, won another award, I can't remember. She was at one time enrolled in the PhD program at Berkeley for immunology and things like that. And, he's making comments, yet he can't even calculate the death rate, or excuse me, I think it's the lethality of COVID-19 correctly. And so I know this because I have a master's in statistics, and I know how they derive these statistics at the CDC. But he makes all these comments that are quite frankly stupid.
Right.
And so I'm sorry to take up your time on this, but
no, it's a good point. I think it's a good point. I think. Listen, I think we're seeing this sort of it's not exactly the same, but you've seen a lot lately about the idea that that COVID-19 came from a lab in Wuhan.
Yeah.
And listen, I think early on in this show, I think I brought up how the consensus among the scientific community is that this came from an animal of some sort at one of these markets in China.
Right.
And listen, if that's changing, that's science. And I have seen a lot more people make the case that it's possible that this came out of a lab in Wuhan. Although at the same time, epidemiologists and other experts are pretty adamant that's not the case. And if it was, they're subscribing like something like 1% possibility to that being the case. But I understand how it's becoming more of a possibility to people who are making that case. Listen, they should find out where it came from, obviously, because it's important to know. But at the same time, the idea that the right is on this because they care about that and not so much, it's ludicrous. They're doing it because they want to beat the war drums against China. Like they want some sort of war or something with China. They want for China to face some sort of consequence that will fray American and Chinese relations. And I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, listen, like if it came out of a lab in Wuhan, so be it. And there should be consequences for China for covering it up or trying to cover it up and for downplaying or whatever their role in it is. But it is highly doubtful. To me, it's like I don't see it even being possible, the case that this was done on purpose, even if it did come from a lab in Wuhan. Because why, if you were doing this on purpose, if this was some like Chinese like biological weapon or something, why would they unleash it in their own country with no guarantee it was going to be able to even come here? Like, so, there's been plenty of various pandemics over the past few decades that mainly just affected China, like countries like China and Korea, the Koreas, and and that's why they were so ready to wear masks now. But that could have been another one of those. Like it would be. There was no guarantee at all that this would affect the United States. I mean, again, possible at least from a lab, sure. If that's where science, I'm not an expert there. I'm gonna go by the scientific community, the experts here. But the fact that it was like something that would make you like hate China more, it's like, come on, like, what is this ridiculousness? Like, there's plenty of real actual criticism to level at China than to make up this idea, than to make up this idea that there's they partook in some biological weapon via COVID-19.
Well, the predecessor of COVID-19, SARS, in many ways, China was on there was it was on notice that this could happen again. So you can criticize them on that alone. So to then make the reach, oh well, it was in they purposely did it in a lab. That's just, maybe it happened, but until I see some proof, I'm certainly not going to jump on the bandwagon. But to get back to Tracy's article about Minneapolis and the crime rate. So it wasn't enough that, he's like promoting it through his tweet, which is fine. But, later on, he took three captures of the article. And the last one was where he said that he was almost certainly the victim of a carjacking, which I thought was kind of that was high school level writing. And I think it was you or someone else on the Majority Report a week ago or so made the point that the people on Substack, or the reporters on Substack, seem to be almost like writing Gonzo type journalism. I don't think Hunter S. Thompson.
That's even. I think that's even too generous. This is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think Hunter S. Thompson would have ever said, well, I was almost certainly beaten up by the Hells Angels,
Right, but I haven't seen very much reporting from those guys. It's all just op-eds. It's all opinions. Like, sure, maybe they'll do reporting in terms of, I spoke to MAGA Mom 010 at the local diner, and this is what she has to say. Sure, that's reporting. But it's all opinionated pieces. There's no, like... There's no like straight up like I dove into this. I broke some news here. That's not really going on there. And it is what it is. That's fine. Not everyone's gonna do that.
So,
Excuse me.
and yeah, you're correct. From what little I've read, now when he said that he was almost almost certainly carjacked.
I mean, you would know. You would know. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
If you were carjacked, you would know, because here's the deal: you would be standing outside while your car drives off. I mean,
so I replied to his tweet by saying, "Damn Tracy, how are you always almost the victim? How are you the target of all the potential crime that's out there?" I remember when Maxine Waters,
she bodied him, man. She picked him up like Bane did in the Batman comic and brought him down on her knee, cracking his back in half, and he has not been the same.
It's amazing
since.
that he managed to survive from that.
Right.
Well,
Batman did too. So I mean, maybe Michael Tracy is actually Batman.
Batman,
yeah. So yeah, after that he blocked me.
What a cancel culture, baby. I don't these guys are too much. I mean,
yeah, I just think that's funny. He goes on and on about how like I think there's been a couple times he's whined about people from like the New York Times, reporters from the New York Times, blocking him. And I had commented before, well, maybe your reputation precedes you. And so, but he whines about that. Yeah, he whines about a nobody, basically me, or not whines, but then he goes and blocks a nobody like me.
Right.
Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Right. Well, thanks for the call, John. I really appreciate it. Great topic. I always love talking about the Substack bros. No, really, I actually do enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's a lighthearted cultural type of topic, which we could always use more of when there's some there's shitty things going on in the world, Yeah. Take care. Have a great night.
Thank you, man.
Bloop bloop. What's this? Oh, guys, look at this. It's been brought to my attention that we are 3 subscribers. 3 YouTube subscribers away from 13,000 subs. I'm gonna sit here and we're gonna do this, and I have some party noise ready to go. If you're not already subscribing to this show right now, youtube.com/MattBinder, subscribe right now. Right now. Let's hit 13 on the air right now. And while we do that, I'm going to take this call. We got another caller. Hello, you are on the air. Is this Zoe?
Hey.
Wait, let me make sure your volume's up 1 second. Yes, your volume is up. How are you doing, Zoe?
Well, I can barely hear you. I don't know why.
You can't hear me. That's not good.
Oh, I found it.
No, it's on your end. Very, very good. Good job. Good job.
Okay. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I need to ask, how much do you know about religion during the French Revolution?
Not much. I'm not a big that time period never really was my thing. Maybe it would be if I learned more about it, but just I never really read too much about it, to be quite frank.
I was counting on you again.
Sorry. Oh boy,
Well,
we're just a few subscribers away from this big moment.
Oh.
You might be on air while we do it, while we hit it. This is gonna be I'm refreshing and hard refreshing and let's do this. What would you like to talk about though, Zoe?
I don't know.
Oh, you just wanted to call in?
I just wanted to ask you about, because I need to finish my essay. So
Oh, you're doing it all right. Well, while you're here, why don't you teach me and why don't you give me a French lesson for today?
all right. What would you like to know about French? Like
Um,
any phrase?
Yes. How do you say conspiracy theory in French?
Uh, théorie conspiratrice?
Whoa, say it one more time.
Théorie conspiratrice?
Oh, I hear it now. Oh, yeah, that's nothing.
No.
Théorie conspiratrice.
Well, we mostly say just conspiration.
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 Well, do I sound better than usual?
What do you mean better?
Like clearer or anything?
Sounds about the same.
Okay. Well, I tried.
Oh, you are clear though. No, you're
Okay.
definitely clearer than usual. I'm just being silly with you. Whatever you did, there's definitely an audible difference.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
I got
All right.
I got people telling me we hit 13,000, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not.
Ooh.
We're not at 13,000 on my end, folks. So until I see it, there'll be no partying right now. Thanks for the call, Zoe. Go get back to your paper.
Okay.
Have a great night.
Good night.
All right, let's go back to the chat here. Wait, Prairie Fire said I unsubscribed to prolong the show. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. We will be wrapping up very shortly. I want to hit that 13,000 on the air. It's just not showing up for me. I don't think we're at 13,000 yet. No. I think some people did unsubscribe to prolong the show for real. I'm going to check another just in case my browser is stuck in that cached mode. Yeah, no, not 13,000. What a big disappointment. I'm going to have to end this show without that 13K. And no new patrons during the show? What's going on? Jeez. That's a rarity. Uh-oh. Hope everyone's the show gonna go downhill from here? No, I'm joking. Let's go back to some Ryan says I always love when Zoe calls in for homework help. Renee says there wasn't any wrestling back then. That's why I wasn't into right. Thank you, Renee. I got a bunch of people saying they see 13,000. I don't see 13,000. Oh, because you guys don't have that right. I can see the hard number. YouTube took away the hard number, the exact number from anyone who's not signed into that account. They round up for you. So you see 13 because I'm in the 12,990 range. I'm not at 13 yet, though. Oh, my God. We're so close. It's not at 13 yet, folks. Right. Grim sees it. 12.9, I guess. Maybe it depends where you're logged in. But it's not 13. Ugh. I can't end this show until I hit 13. I just can't. Nope. Let's, Prairie Fire says, should I call in? Of course. Call in. I'll take one more call. None of the crypto people who threatened to call in have called in, which is very disappointing. I wish they called in. Let's go to what was I going to go to here? Oh, I wanted to do this really quick. We'll do one more story, and then that's a wrap for today. I joked about it earlier in the first half of the show, but Let me pull up exactly who's doing this too. I want to get the story absolutely right. So, you guys might have heard that a while back, NASA was taking bids from private space exploration companies for a contract to put astronauts on the moon. And SpaceX, Elon Musk's space exploration company, won that contract. One of the companies competing was Jeff Bezos's space company, Blue Origin. And, you know, if you or me are vying for a contract, a freelance gig, a job, when we lose or we don't get picked or we don't get hired or we get, we get second or, sorry, we get that letter that says, we appreciate it, but we decided to go with somebody else. When that happens to us, that's it. We move on. We take the loss if it was like, a freelance gig or a contract gig that we were hoping to get. We just move on and we didn't get it. However, if you are Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell, Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell from Washington State, what you do for Jeff Bezos, who is your constituent because Blue Origin is out of Washington State, that's where it's based, you go ahead and you add an amendment into a piece of legislation that gives $10 billion to Jeff Bezos' company anyway. Regardless of the fact that they didn't get the contract, regardless of NASA's not going to be working with them to put astronauts on the moon like they're doing with Elon Musk's company, you're going to get that $10 billion anyway. It's just, just another example of how you always win if you are in the elite class. Once you are so obscenely wealthy, it doesn't matter how many times you fail. It doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter how many fines you receive. It does not matter. You can't fail because you will always be bailed out because you were viewed by other elites, by the powers in this country as being too important to fail. And one day after this news breaks about this $10 billion freebie to Jeff Bezos, it's announced that Jeff Bezos' other company, the one you might have heard of, Amazon, is acquiring the legendary Hollywood movie studio, MGM. How much are they going to pay for MGM? $8.45 billion. So we literally are going to give money to Bezos for him to buy a movie studio practically. Not only that, not only is he getting a free movie studio on the taxpayer dime, he's actually going to still have $2.some-odd billion left over. And this comes so day one, that's space news. Day two, the MGM news. Go back to day one, and Amazon is actually being sued for antitrust violations where they're basically gaming the system on, where else, Amazon.com, to make sure prices remain higher because they have that power to do so. I mean, this is on top of other antitrust issues with Amazon where they find a popular product by a smaller company and they go ahead and make their own Amazon branded version. And then they compete on their own marketplace and they promote their own product on their own marketplace over the original product. And obviously the original product has to pay for advertising on Amazon if they want to bump their visibility on the Amazon pages up. I mean, it is just ludicrous. Just ludicrous. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like this one is so in your face absurd. You lose a contract, you lose a contract. There should be no reason for you to get a free $1 billion worth of the money that contract was supposed to be for on a contract you lost. And then the nerve to go around the next day and purchase a movie studio for nearly the same price, clearly showing you don't fucking need that money. Senator Bernie Sanders came out and said he's going to try to block that amendment that would give Jeff Bezos that $10 billion. Just ludicrous. Ludicrous. Monica in the chat says space is an investment that should have never been privatized. Absolutely. Absolutely. There were people in Bernie Sanders' mentions I saw that were attacking Bernie, saying Jeff Bezos worked hard for his money. And then in the same breath saying, we need to give him that $10 billion for the space exploration because it's important we do so. It'll benefit us all. Private corporations, private companies are not getting into space exploration for the greater good. Are you kidding me? The first thing that will happen as soon as they're able to do so is we've already seen it actually. What am I talking about? We've already seen it. The highest bidders spending, I don't even remember how much, tens of thousands, I think, if not hundreds of thousands, to get that first seat on a ship to space. Are you kidding me? The people, these I fucking love science people, they really think that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are researching the great beyond for the greater good? Absolutely not. They're doing it so they could line their pockets. Big money in space exploration, because imagine being a company that could send people to space. Imagine being one of the first to do that. Not to mention, look all the money they're getting already from the government. That's the incentive right there to do it. I guarantee you that movie, that Matt Damon movie, Elysium, that is going to end up being a movie people look back on in I don't know how many years from now and say, I mean, the warning was right fucking there. That's the same director who did District 9, right? Another great movie that really warns about adjacent shit like that. I mean, we are literally going to create a great beyond where the elite of the elite live. And if something went down here, you better believe those people who are simping for Musk and Bezos, thinking that they're exploring space for the greater good, would be fucking left down here to rot and die first thing. While all the rich people hightailed it off of planet Earth. Tronin in the chat says he also did Chappie. I actually liked Chappie. All right, folks. That is the show for today. I'm not going to live my dream of hitting the 13K subscribers. It will happen off air, it seems. Womp, womp, womp. Oh, look at that! Hit 13K! We did it! What a perfect way to end the show! What a perfect way to end the show! Where is it? Where's the sound effects? Here we go! 13K! We did it! We did it! 13K! Party! Woo! 13,000 YouTube subs. Onwards to 14,000. Let's get me there. And then 15,000, and then 20,000, and then 50,000, and then 100,000, and then 1,000,000. We're getting there. Let's do this, folks. I could see it. Grim still says 12.9 for me. No, I see it on the legit end. I can see the exact number. We're even above 13K. We got a few stragglers who jumped in on top after 13K. Folks, thank you so much for being here tonight. Always a pleasure to join you guys Thursday nights. We'll be doing more shows. We'll be doing more content. We'll be doing more bonus stuff for patrons. I will let you guys all know. We'll have tons of stuff coming down the pipeline, I promise you. Until then, but no new patrons today. Womp womp. Anyway, see you all next time on Doomed.